All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the heavyweight division where Anthony Joshua returns today after 2 consecutive losses to Alexander Usyk, returns to the ring against Jermaine Franklin, an American heavyweight, but has a new twist, and that is Errol Spence Jr.'s trainer, Derek James, will be in his corner, and according to his older trainer, his trainer that he just had, Mikey Garcia's brother, Robert Garcia, that is going to make all the difference in the world and how important it is for Anthony Joshua to get back to where he was. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 100 and just heavyweight division. I'm used to always putting a 100. It's absolutely nice to be able to say we're talking about the 200 plus division, the heavyweight division, where Anthony Joshua will be returning today against Jermaine Franklin. Robert Garcia, who coached him for one fight in his last loss to Alexander Usyk, made a revelation about this fight coming up today and the effect of being with Derek James and being with Errol Spence Jr. and JERMELL CAHRLO. Now, before I get into that, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also, if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. Okay, so today I'm excited about an Anthony Joshua fight. Got to tell you. And in fact, for a while, I've been excited about pretty much every Anthony Joshua fight. And that has been pretty much since the conversations had started about him fighting Deontay Wilder. Obviously, though, that fight did not come to fruition, even though it was at the time, could have been the biggest fight in boxing. Anthony Joshua decides, goes his own way, fights Alexander Usyk loses to Andy Ruiz, comes back, beats Andy Ruiz. After that, I think he may have got beaten like Kubrat Pulev, either Kubrat Pulev and maybe, I'm not sure. No, not at the time. It wasn't. He come back and gets a couple wins and then winds up having to fight a mandatory in Alexander Usyk. And Alexander Usyk beats him 2 times in a row and to take all of his belts. So after the second loss, Anthony Joshua moves his camp to the United States and takes in Derek James as his head trainer, in a move that I think it was a very good move, but also his former trainer, Mikey Garcia's brother, Robert Garcia, believes was a really smart move as well, and may be the difference maker in getting Anthony Joshua back to the top of the heavyweight division. And this is something that was also co-signed by Vladimir Klitschko, who was actually, I think Vladimir Klitschko is the biggest win in Anthony Joshua's career, when Anthony Joshua knocked out Vladimir Klitschko in a great fight to really, really jump on the international boxing scene. Now, what's the rationale that they give, that Mikey Garcia gives, or excuse me, Robert Garcia gives? Robert Garcia says, first, it was very important that he came to the United States and he got away from the UK and he got into an environment where it was going to be all about the work, and also training around Errol Spence, being in the gym with Errol Spence Jr. and JERMELL CAHRLO, and also got to add to that Frank Martin, is a situation where Anthony Joshua cannot take any shortcuts. Now, in saying so, I think maybe Robert Garcia is kind of like, I don't want to say throwing a little shade, but providing a little insight into maybe what happened with his camp. And he says, look, man, if you're in the gym with Errol Spence and JERMELL CAHRLO, one guy has 3 belts, the other guy is an undisputed champion. You're a former 3-belt holder and you're trying to get back to where they are. And when those guys are saying, okay, coach tells them, okay, we're going to spar 12 rounds, and Errol Spence or JERMELL goes a whole 12 rounds and then says, hey, man, let me get another round, then you are not going to be, when he says, let's go 10 round, you're going to be through that peer pressure. You're going to want to work as hard as they are, and you're not going to want to let them see you say, nah, I'm done at 10 rounds, right? So, or whatever, and you can transfer that to any other type of workout that goes on. So pretty much that just training with fighters that are at that level, they compete at that level, that train at that level, is going to raise your level of work. And when you raise your level of work, then that's going to it's going to pan itself out in the ring. Now, for me, because I know somebody that is a former world champion that was trained by Robert Garcia, I also know that there is a difference between Robert Garcia and Derrick James in that, because I've seen Derrick James train Errol Spence. I've actually been relatively close to them and could hear what was going on. They talk very much about strategy and the strategy for the fight that they're going to use, and working on the techniques for the strategy for the strategy that they're going to use to beat a specific fighter. Where, according to the people that I've spoken to, Robert Garcia is not as much into the strategy of it. He's more into organizing the training camp and setting the schedule for you to work, right? And not so much into the strategy of it. So it seems like for Anthony Joshua, that may very well be what he needs, especially since Anthony Joshua is somebody that came into boxing later than other people have. Right now, Vladimir Klitschko saying that he really believes that trainer with Derrick James is what Anthony Joshua needs to get to the top of the game. That's because that's something that Vladimir Klitschko himself has experienced, because he was, a big name heavyweight, undefeated heavyweight, and then he ran into a couple knockout losses and winds up going to Emmanuel Stewart in Crunk Gym, and Emmanuel Stewart helps him implement a style it was a boring style. It's a boring style, but it was a boring style that prevented him from getting knocked out and really wearing on the other guys and stopping them, right? Which allowed Vladimir Klitschko to ultimately live up to his potential. When people had seen him get knocked out by Layman Brewster, had seen him, who else knocked him out? Corey Sanders had knocked him out, right? So, I think there is hope for Anthony Joshua. However, I don't know if it's going to show up in just one fight. Jermaine is a very, very he's a good fighter. Jermaine Franklin gave a very good fight to Dillian White. He's definitely hittable though, and Dillian White is not nearly as big a puncher as Anthony Joshua is. And if Anthony Joshua really can go to his body, I think it could be big trouble for Franklin. Also, man, Anthony Joshua came in big, like the biggest of his career at 255 pounds. That is a full 10 pounds bigger than he was against in his last fight with Alexander Usyk. So it clearly, man, these guys were I don't know what that means, but he's got an extra, if you weigh 250, what is 10 pounds? 250 is an extra, roughly 4%, 5% body weight. And even at 255 pounds, he looked ripped. So it was clearly he was eating, right? Not trying to get rid of muscle mass. And honestly, all accusations of, enhancements aside, I just think that Anthony Joshua was that big a dude, man. And that big a guy who could really punch, especially with his uppercut, which he wasn't able to land on that southpaw. It's going to be really interesting to see what takes place. But anyway, that's what Robert Garcia had to say, what Vladimir Klitschko had to say. That's my opinion on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.